Anthony from Haslage here, and while I have shoveled snow, mowed lawns, and helped local businesses as a kid, nothing was a regularly paid gig, but heck, sometimes they would not even pay me at all. My first regular job began in 1988 with a barber named Milt Wampler, as seen in this video's thumbnail, literally the only picture I could find. I was barely 11 years old, but I needed money to support my Nintendo habit. During that summer, while getting my haircut, Milt asked if I was looking to earn some money. How fortunate for the both of us! He just needed a barber's assistant for about 15 minutes a day while he was closing. The shop was closed on Sundays and Wednesdays, despite him trying to find other barbers to fill in. He was paying at least $1 USD for my time. Back then, minimum wage was $3.35 per hour. Theoretically, a full hour would have netted me $4. The job was simple. I would come in while Milt was working on his final cut of the day, around 5 p.m., and begin sweeping around him. As he finished up, I would clear the hair around the barber's chair, empty the ashtrays and garbage cans. It was 1988. People seemed to love to smoke in barbershops. Sometimes I would come in and the shop would just have a fog upon it. Occasionally, after I finished cleaning up, Milt would throw in some food. He was a huge fan of lunch meat sandwiches with butter as the condiment. Now, I think it may have been a thing he picked up during the Depression, or I don't know, but other times the food was some fruit, wrapped cake, or a donut. Milt was born in Pennsylvania in 1928. He joined the U.S. Army just in time for the Korean War. In 1954, Milt moved himself and his family to Lorain, Ohio, where I live, and he started his barbershop and kept at it until 2009. As a heavy smoker, he was forced to quit smoking, and due to decades of smoke damage, he had to renovate and update the shop around the turn of the century, so 2000-ish. He was not exactly sure when he would retire, but he wanted to make sure that whomever took over for him had a modern facility. Up until the remodel, the shop had high ceilings. We're talking easily 15, 20 feet. You know, those like hanging lights that you would see in like old shows from the 1950s. It sort of reminded me of a saloon, especially when you consider that cash register was from the early 1900s. Even his two barber chairs were from the early 1900s. The building itself was even from the early 1900s and had two storefronts. The other side at the time was a dojo where Taekwondo was taught. Milt died from emphysema in 2011. The last few times that I had seen him, he was cutting hair while on oxygen. Gone were the ashtrays, in their place were signs about not smoking. In 2009, I was approaching 30 years old and I was about to leave for Akron to work on my master's degree. I was reminded of when he used to cut my hair. He would inhale a little bit of his cigarette and exhale at the corner of his mouth. That was replaced by the sound of the oxygen machine. When I came back for a visit during the summer of 2011, in his shop was his wife. I had met her maybe 2 or 3 times before. She had informed me that Milt had passed away and that no one was interested in taking over his shop. It was at that point that one realizes that the great clips and supercuts of the world have permeated the haircutting culture. The other local small business barbershops were gone too, and another would not open for a few more years. His shop had been turned into an antique store. Eventually, another barber did show interest and bought the remaining equipment from Milt's wife. Then that barber opened his shop in Milt's old barbershop. While decorations have changed, and it still looks like Milt's, but with modern equipment. Once I moved back into the neighborhood, I have found that I cannot help but to look into those huge bay windows as I pass by. Milt loved 2 things, the Pittsburgh Steelers and music. On his wall for decades was a calendar stuck on January 1975 from when the Steelers first won the Super Bowl. Below the immortal calendar was originally a 1930s style floor radio, and later on top of it was placed a more modern boombox. He loved listening to the classic Rat Pack-esque era music. You know, crooners. He would occasionally also sing along with the songs. He had a solid baritone singing voice. And yes, he had for the longest time a black and white floor model television before having to switch over to a portable unit that he placed upon the original television. Okay, yes, we went from talking about my first job to essentially a eulogy. My first job taught me two things: commitment and responsibility. I was committed for a few years towards making that $1 a day, and I took that responsibility of being there 5 days a week very seriously. When I was a teenager, I started working for a family-owned Mexican restaurant down the street. Milt still cut my hair, but by that time I needed to earn more than $1 a day if I was ever going to buy a Sega Genesis 32X CD thing. A big old setup. With that said, tell me in the comments what your first job was and how old you were. Do you have memories of your old bosses? Are they good or bad? Thanks for watching, and please remember to like and subscribe.